Well, good afternoon, good morning, and for our friends in the UAE and the Middle East, good evening. My name is Danny Seabright. I'm the president of the US-UAE Business Council. We're based in Washington, D.C. We are very, very honored today to partner with the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade to present this virtual trade mission to the UAE. We expect some 70 participants on the call today, and we are live streaming, and we will have the YouTube video up afterwards, and we usually receive at least that many viewers afterwards. So we appreciate everyone's time today. We'll jump right in. We could not be more honored to work with Connor Murphy and Nicole Gunkel from the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. Lieutenant Governor Primavera is really, really fortunate to have such capable people on her team in Colorado. It's been a pleasure and a great gift to be able to work with them. This mission today is designed to provide Colorado-based businesses with information about doing business in the United Arab Emirates. Our speakers today will also highlight areas that are particularly ripe for bilateral cooperation, including in the healthcare sector, life sciences, and defense verticals. We also hope that the mission will serve as a precursor to in-person delegation visits to the UAE, especially during the time of the Expo 2020 in Dubai, which kicks off on 1 October. Consul General Alkaabi will elaborate on the Expo in his remarks. I will remind our guests that this webinar is being live streamed. It will be recorded and posted on YouTube, and we hope that others will be able to take advantage of it there as well. Throughout the webinar, if any of you have questions that you'd like to have the panelists answer, please submit them through the Q&A or chat function, and I will curate and make sure that we are able to get to some of those questions. Without further ado, it is my great honor to introduce Lieutenant Governor of Colorado, Dianne Primavera. Dianne Primavera is a lifelong Colorado resident who served in the Colorado State Legislature from 2006 to 2013. Through public service and work in the nonprofit sector, she has been a leading patient advocate and has worked to ensure every Coloradan's access to quality, affordable health care. Most recently, she served as CEO of the Susan J. Komen Colorado Foundation, and I should note that the UAE over the years and the UAE Embassy in Washington, D.C. in particular have been very, very close partners of the Komen Foundation in its fight against breast cancer. Throughout her service, Dianne has been recognized for her success working across the aisle to promote Colorado small businesses, lower prescription drug costs, and expand access to affordable health care. Lieutenant Governor, we thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Well, hi, everybody, and thank you, Danny, for that kind introduction, and thank you to the US-UAE Business Council for bringing us together today. I also want to express my gratitude to Consul General Alkaabi for joining. We're looking forward to hearing about the insights that you will be sharing today with Colorado companies interested in the potential of launching business opportunities in the United Arab Emirates. I'm also excited that we're hearing from Space Foundation COO Shelli Brunswick. The Space Foundation is a longtime partner of the states, and their close collaboration with the UAE strengthens both of our aerospace industries. So as Lieutenant Governor, I chair the Colorado Space Coalition, and I also serve as the National Vice Chair of the Aerospace States Association. So I'm immensely proud that Colorado is a thriving aerospace hub, possessing the largest concentration of private aerospace employment. Aerospace directly employs over 33,000 Coloradoans, and Colorado is both the proud home of major prime contractors and small businesses, with approximately 63% of Colorado's aerospace companies employing 10 or fewer workers. And from 2015 through 2020, we saw over a 30% increase in direct employment growth, which is approximately 11% greater than the national average. So in Colorado, as you probably all know, we're already a mile closer to the cosmos and to the heavens. Since the late 1940s, Colorado has been a strategic location for bilateral and binational space and cyber activity. For example, when NASA's Perseverance successfully landed on Mars, the Rover carried technology from businesses across our state. However, we know that partnership with other nations, including the UAE, is vital to our continued innovation and commitment to exploration. So last year, Colorado's exports to the UAE totaled $209 million, which was an increase of about 224% from 2019. $150 million of this value came from the delivery of the Hope Mars probe in the category of aircraft, spacecraft, and parts. And outside of spacecraft, our top 10 exports to the UAE include industrial machinery and electrical equipment. Colorado imports a multitude of products from the UAE, including jams, fruit jellies, and nut pastes, industrial machinery, and articles of asphalt. The jellies and nut paste is about $848,000, industrial machinery, $271,000, and articles of asphalt, $899,000. Here in Colorado, we place a great value on binational outreach and are working every day to strengthen partnerships with aerospace hubs like the UAE that will lead both of our nations to higher levels of success. Let me talk a little bit about life sciences. The sophistication and ingenuity of our homegrown technology goes well beyond the aerospace industry. Colorado's med tech industry is the 6th largest in the nation, with bioscience generating $7.8 billion in output, or 2% of the state's GDP. In 2019, the Metro Denver area ranked 2nd in the fastest life sciences industry employment growth in the nation and saw 34% growth in bioscience employment. Concerning funding and capital access, Colorado bioscience companies raised a record $1.2 billion in 2020, and Colorado companies received over $427 million from the National Institutes of Health in the 2019 fiscal year. Consistent growth and more funding coming online has allowed us to expand our reach. Numerous innovative companies that started in Colorado have made the UAE their new home, including Ballcor's regional headquarters in Dubai, Affagility Solutions, a provider of environmental and health safety services with an office in the Dubai Science Park, and cybersecurity companies Logarithm and Palantir's offices in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, respectively. Also, Dubai-based LMKR, an oil exploration and production software provider, has found a home in our capital city of Denver. It's critical that we continue identifying 21st century solutions to develop our advanced industries across the spectrum, from aerospace to life sciences, while working to make our communities healthier. Our higher education system in Colorado is inextricably connected to aerospace industry, which is one among many reasons why companies are choosing to move and expand here. The UAE has been an excellent source of international students, creating a strong pipeline for future aerospace workforce. For example, the University of Colorado Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics, or LASP, has been working with scientists and engineers from the UAE's Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center since 2014 to develop the Hope Mars probe, along with 2 of the 3 instruments on board. The Emirate's exploration, that's hard to say together, imager, and the Emirate's Mars ultraviolet spectrometer. This is just one example of the exciting partnerships between Colorado and the UAE. We've been encouraging public-private partnerships wherever possible to increase early stage capital and create a strong ecosystem that increases our state's global competitiveness, which in turn leads to larger returns. State-sponsored grants like the State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP, are designed to support Colorado businesses looking to expand their products and services into international markets, including the UAE. The STEP program can offset the cost of international business travel, including to trade shows, translating of website and marketing materials, compliance testing, services offered by the Department of Commerce, and many others. Businesses must be a Colorado small business for at least 1 year to qualify and have an export-ready product or service. So for more information on the STEP program, you can contact Nicole Gunkel at Nicole, Nicole, .Gunkel, Gunkle, at state.co.us. That's nicole.gunkel at state.co.us, or visit the STEP website at OEDIT, so that's OEDIT .colorado, spelled out, .gov/state-trade-expansion-program-grant. And maybe Nicole or Connor will put that in the chat. Additionally, OEDIT's Advanced Industries Accelerator, or the AI programs, offer grants that improve and expand the development of 7 advanced industries in Colorado, including aerospace. This particular program requires a 2-to-1 match, bringing new money into the economy, which will be essential in the months and years ahead as we work to build back stronger from the pandemic and our economic downturn. So in conclusion, we are committed to promoting growth and sustainability by helping accelerate commercialization, encouraging public-private partnerships, increasing access to early-stage capital, and creating a strong ecosystem that increases our state's global competitiveness and benefits foreign markets. So thank you for your time today. We are looking forward to flourishing business ties between Colorado and the UAE. And I'm sorry I'll have to jump off in a few minutes, but with that, I'm happy to turn it back over to Danny. Thank you, Danny.
Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for those excellent remarks and that great overview. I'm going to turn to Consul General Alkaabi in 1 second. I just need to highlight, we have a few friends on the call today that are important contacts and members of the Business Council. First of all, Hussein Al-Balushi, who runs and helps run Dubai FDI, Dubai Trade, has been an outstanding partner over the years. And we actually brought a mission from Dubai to Colorado a few years ago with Hussein's help. And we visited a company there, Lieutenant Governor, called Leprino Foods, which has offices in Dubai, in the UAE, and has a lot of headquarters and staff and team in Colorado. So we're glad that they are also on the call today. And we have Emirates Airline, and I know there's always a question about when Emirates is going to open in Colorado. We have Kalani Ravi from Emirates on the call today. And from our board, we have Norm Gilsdorf from Honeywell and George Flanders and Christopher Lenz from Lockheed Martin, 2 very, very important companies to our operations and who have major operations in Colorado. So we thank them for joining today as well. Now I'd like to turn the floor to His Excellency Hazza Alkaabi, UAE Consul General in Los Angeles. In his role as Consul General in Los Angeles, Hazza covers the US West Coast and Mountain States. Prior to his assignment as Consul General, he served as Deputy Chief of Mission at the UAE Embassy in Paris. He has also served in the office of the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Expo 2020. Consul General Alkaabi, thank you for taking part in this mission. We understand you're going to show us a few slides as well, and we're prepared to put those on the screen now as you make your presentation. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny. I'd like to thank U.A.E, US-UAE Business Council and the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade for organizing this special event. It's really a pleasure to meet with the Lieutenant Governor and Ms. Shelli Brunswick, and with you, my dear friend Danny, and everyone who is tuning in online today. You know, I haven't been to Colorado yet, but I was telling my colleagues here, these virtual engagements are a great way to get to know each other. And to help to introduce our audience to the UAE, I have a short presentation that I would like to share with you. As a Consul General, I'm tasked with managing consular services and assisting Emirati in the United States. However, the best part of my job is doing what I'm doing right now, is speaking about the UAE with you. 2021 is a big year for us. This December will mark the 50th anniversary of the UAE's founding. Today, I will talk about the shared values my country was built upon, as well as events that formed our friendship with the United States. Next, I will dig deeper into the ties that bridge the UAE and US from economic relationship to social and cultural initiatives, and highlight some of the recent milestones that we have achieved together. I'm amazed by how similar our cultures are. US values like opportunity, prosperity, and community are also what guided the UAE's leadership when the nation was established 5 decades ago. And you know, when the UAE is mentioned, many people will think of oil, and they will ask also, what is an emirate? Well, an emirate is a small city-state, and the UAE has 7 of them. Each emirate has its own laws and customs, but all 7 are united under a federal government, similar to states here in the United States. The Emirates you probably hear the most are Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Today, UAE is a diverse and forward-looking nation that is the engine of the regional economy. We are focused on diversifying our economy and developing the sectors that will drive our progress for the next 50 years: the aerospace, life science, and sustainable energy as well. Next, as a result of this dynamic approach, the UAE stands as the 2nd largest economy in the Arab world, and which is no small feat considering we are only 50 years old and we have about 10 million people. The US was actually one of the first countries to establish a formal relationship with my country after we became a country in 1971. And these quick steps to build ties led to today's growing an alliance. In fact, the UAE has been the United States' top export destination for the entire Middle East and also North Africa region for 12 years in a row. The UAE trades with every US state, and that's of course include Colorado. In 2020, Colorado exported over $208 million in products and services to my country, supporting around 1,900 Colorado jobs. Next, and beyond trade, the UAE-Colorado relationship spans many sectors. Perhaps the most recent example is the partnership between the UAE space industry and the University of Colorado Boulder. Last year, the UAE successfully launched the Arab world's first spacecraft to Mars. The Emirates Mars mission space probe, which is called Al-Amal, which means the hope in English, was actually built here in Colorado in Boulder. On the left side, you can see in this presentation, the Hope probe as it's being constructed in Boulder, and I'm sure I'm sure Shelli may share her experience later about it. Next, and you will see the picture on the right shows image that Hope has captured of Mars. And the name of this probe is fitting because the mission is providing hope to entire generation of youth people in the Middle East who want to apply their skills in positive and productive ways as well. And I am personally inspired by the women who make up 80% of the Emirates Mars mission science team. This includes Her Excellency Sarah Al-Amiri, the UAE Minister of State for Advanced Technology, and the mission lead scientist. Truly, they are creating a legacy that will inspire the next generation of women scientists and engineers across the UAE and the Arab world. Next, the UAE is also leading in a way of promoting culture. I want to go back here to the year of 2019 when we received in Abu Dhabi the Pope of Vatican, and it was the first visit for a sitting pope to visit the Arabian Peninsula, the birthplace of Islam, and he did a great mass. More than 180,000 worshippers attended his mass in Abu Dhabi. Next. Also, at that same year, my country hosted the 2019 Special Olympics World Game in Abu Dhabi, which was again the first time the event had been held in the Middle East and North Africa. And we continue to build on this momentum by supporting initiatives such as the Special Olympics Unified Champions Schools Program. Next, we've also announced the Abrahamic Family House. It will be an interfaith center where you will see for the first time ever a church, a synagogue, and a mosque next to each other, all in one place in Abu Dhabi. It will be open to all. It will be a place for learning and just a new center of interfaith in Abu Dhabi. Next, the UAE also has a long track record as a leader in promoting gender equality in the Middle East. From sports, science to government, women are playing a large role in all sectors across my country. More women than men complete their secondary education and join university. Emirati women are taking the lead in the public sector and make up to 50% of our federal national council. And I say this with proud that I am a father of 3 daughters as well. For example, here I want to say about Her Excellency Mariam Al-Mahiri, the UAE's Minister of State for Food and Water Security, focuses on enhancing the nation conservation's effort and combating climate change, as you can see in the slide. Next, Her Excellency job is an important one. As a desert country, environment conservation is a part of the UAE heritage. And also you can see on this slide that last month, the UAE Special Envoy for Climate Change, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, met with the US counterpart, Secretary John Kerry in Abu Dhabi to discuss bilateral action on key climate issues. Finally, we can't just talk about the UAE without mentioning the Expo 2020 Dubai. It will be the first world fair to be held in the Middle East and North Africa through the theme of connecting minds, creating the future. For more than 170 years, World Expo have brought nation and people together to create human progress and solve global challenges. We will have something for everyone, from families, children, government, and entrepreneurs. Starting this October until April next year, Expo 2020 will bring together more than 190 countries, and that's include the United States in a celebration of culture and innovation. And if you have not made a travel plan yet, I am extending a warm Emirati welcome to everyone listening to us here today to come and visit us. And there is a special invitation as well for you, Lieutenant Governors and all business companies in Colorado to come and join us in this great celebration. Finally, I'd just like to say that the UAE's friendship with the US is built upon shared values and vision for a better future. This partnership has resulted in many historic achievements, and I'm confident that by continue to work together moving forward, we can accomplish even more. Thank you.
Consul General Hazza Alkaabi, thank you so much for your kind remarks. We're going to jump now, Lieutenant Governor, to talk about space. Who would have thought a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that a small Arab country in the heart of the Gulf would be launching a probe to Mars? We could not be more honored to have Shelli Brunswick, Chief Operating Officer of the Space Foundation and an Emirati partner, or a partner to the Emiratis in this in the HOPE mission. Shelli has a great depth of experience in the space sector, resulting from her distinguished career as a space acquisition and program management leader and congressional liaison for the US Air Force. Shelli is an advocate for space technology innovation, entrepreneurship, and diversity and inclusion in the space sector. She collaborates with government, commercial, and educational sectors on initiatives for space commerce, young professionals, teacher development, and space-inspired curriculum. Moreover, as we soon will hear, she has been active with our UAE partners. Shelli, the floor is yours, and I want to remind folks to please start putting your questions in the Q&A or the chat function so we can make sure we answer questions after you're finished, Shelli. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. It's a pleasure to be joining you and the esteemed panelists, the Consul General and the Lieutenant Governor. I'm honored to share with you a little bit about the Space Foundation and what we're doing in the Emirates and how others can too. But I would first like to start with the late His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, a founder and former president of the UAE, once said, "History is a continuous chain of events. The present is only an extension of the past." And this statement also reflects the future, and nowhere is that truer than in the UAE and their space endeavors. Please allow me to explain what is the global space ecosystem and why is it so important to the US, to Colorado, and the Emiratis, and the world as a whole. According to the Space Foundation Annual Space Report from 2019, the global space ecosystem is $424 billion, and that is projected to grow to $1.4 trillion by 2030, over $3 trillion by 2040. You have more than 85 nations operating in space. but almost every nation and every citizen uses space daily. In the US, 80% of our space economy is commercial, and that ranges from virtual reality to data analytics, from healthcare to manufacturing, from telecommunications to cybersecurity. So space is part of our everyday life. We use it for weather predictions. As Danny, you shared, you're looking forward to the Emirates having flights again. We want all those pilots to have the best and most accurate weather prediction. We use space has been incorporated into our clothing, such as fire retardant clothing that firefighters wear. And we look at it in healthcare when we look at cataract surgery or mammogram detection. And again, as the governor highlighted, the lieutenant governor highlighted, Colorado is a leader with the nation's second largest aerospace economy, highlighting an educated workforce, a dynamic atmosphere for business growth, and a hub for high-tech innovation. 9 of the nation's top aerospace contractors have a significant presence in Colorado, along with major U.S. Department of Defense facilities and NASA research and development activities. And we highlighted the importance of the Colorado State Universities with CU Boulder and many others. So there are some of the best aerospace engineering programs are here in Colorado. And the opportunities for bilateral cooperation is limitless. And I look forward to exploring those with you and the Consular General in the discussion to come. Thank you.
Shelli, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. We're honored to have you on the webinar. With that, I'd like to turn it over to some Q&A if I could. And the below questions that we're going to ask, ensuing questions that we're going to ask are meant to be a starting point for discussion and audience participation as well. Hopefully the discussion will be a bit interactive, and I asked panelists to share with each other in response to some of the questions. I think we'll start, if we could, with Consul General Alkaabi, and we'll start a little bit on the healthcare sector if we can. We know now that the UAE is focused on healthcare and life sciences as a key for advancement, particularly in light of the coronavirus pandemic. Healthcare and life sciences, Consul General, are also an important business vertical for Colorado. Can you speak, Consul General, to the UAE's work in healthcare and the life sciences vertical? Where is the UAE looking to invest in the future? What are the priorities for your country in this vertical?
Sure, thank you, Danny. As you mentioned, Danny, the importance of healthcare and life science could not be more evident today with the pandemic going around. But when you invest in life science and medical technology, you are investing in a space that, of course, profitable, but also solve world problems and saves life. And the UAE is working with leading global institutions for further develop its healthcare system. The UAE seeks to become a major center for world-class healthcare in the Middle East. And that's not only for its own resident, but also for the whole region as well. And there is a number of UAE strong partnership with the United States. I would like to mention 3 of them here. One of them is the Cleveland Clinic in Abu Dhabi, which is operating as a world-class specialty hospital and clinic. Also, the Johns Hopkins Hospital, Medical School Hospital, which is, manage the healthcare system in Abu Dhabi, and that's include Tuam Hospital in my home city, Al-Ain. The third one is the Susan G. Komen, the Breast Cancer Foundation, has a partnership with the UAE government for breast cancer education as well. Here I'm Edgar, and I'm looking forward to explore more opportunities to establish a similar partnerships with Colorado companies who can partner with the UAE in many aspects of this important sectors.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Let's talk a little bit about the space and the defense and the aerospace verticals, if we could. And I'll turn to you, Shelli. In addition to healthcare, as you know, Colorado is a global leader, as you've described, in space sciences and aerospace engineering. When the UAE envisioned sending a probe to Mars, they turned to the University of Colorado Boulder's Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics for guidance and partnership on the ambitious project we know today as Project Hope. Shelli, can you speak to Colorado's expertise in this sector, and how did scientists from Colorado contribute to the success of the UAE's space probe, Hope?
Absolutely. Well, first I'd like to start with it's all about action and impact. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy inspired America. He challenged the US to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade and safely return him to Earth. And the US did it. It's about action and impact. And now the UAE is challenging its citizens to establish a Mars research settlement in a 100-year venture. A step in that journey was the creation of the UAE's Hope probe. In February, the Hope probe reached Mars orbit, making the country the 5th nation to reach the red planet. It highlights action and impact. The UAE partnered with the University of Colorado Boulder on the Hope probe in 2014. CU Boulder was a leading US Scientific Academy partner in the Emirates Mars mission. In addition, the UAE is using the Hope probe and space to fuel economic potential, workforce development, and international collaboration. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum launched the UAE Centennial 2071 roadmap, which includes education, economic diversity, a cohesive society, and future-focused government. Investing in and pursuing space endeavors invigorates these core areas. With the plan for a 100-year Mars settlement, there are continued opportunities for partnership with Colorado businesses and universities. Here are just a few of those highlights. In 2024, the UAE wants to have a rover mission to the moon. The Mars Scientific City is a planned complex of Earth-based buildings designed to study how to live and work on Mars. They want to do 3D printing, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Agriculture is a cornerstone of the UAE, having to import 80 to 90% of their food. Growing food in harsh terrains is something we have to conquer to go to Mars, but it's something the UAE can lead us in here on Earth. The UAE is starting and growing their human space program. And similar to how the US has transformed its space sector from government to 80% commercial, the UAE Space Agency wants to transfer what it's gained by the last 15 years in the space ecosystem to the private sector. And the UAE wants to use space as an enabler to grow GDP through the amplifier effect with satellite technology, space-based exploration, and space-inspired technologies to inspire their workforce development. Another area of focus for Colorado businesses are highlighted in the 2020 UAE space laws, drawing attention to space mining, logistics, and debris management. And the UAE hosts 44 free trade zones that offer facilities, networks, and favorable ownership and tax rules, all designed to attract entrepreneurs and innovators. And a great example of that is NanoRacks, which is in Hub 71, the tech incubator within Abu Dhabi's global market free trade zone. So I share with you, there are a number of opportunities for businesses as well as universities and nonprofits on the call to find great collaborative opportunity in the UAE.
Thank you, Shelli. And Consul General Hazza, I'd like to give you a few moments to just comment on the space program and what this means for the UAE and young Emiratis for the future. Your feelings of wonder and emotion that you shared with your daughters when the mission was launched earlier, and just your reactions, please.
Of course, Dan, you know, this was a dream. Whenever we talk about the Hope probe, we always see that picture when late Sheikh Zayed received the American astronaut in late 70s. And that was a dream. And, you know, with the wise leadership right now, we convert that dream to a reality. And we were the first country in the Arab world and Middle East to reach the red orbit. And I always talk about this with my daughters, and they are very proud about this, and they speak about it actually at school with their friends and teachers. And I always encourage them to be, to play such a great role, to be part of the progress of the UAE in the near future.
Thank you. Shelli, you've done a great job outlining what the future opportunities are for American business here. We had one question in the chat function or in the chat box about where the UAE is going in the future after the moon rover. And I think you've outlined that. Is there anything else just to really put a point on where American business should be focused and partnering with the UAE space program for the next 10 years?
I think I highlighted a number of great opportunities, and I did want to share, I came out with an op-ed in Space News in March talking about the UAE and their space opportunities. So a lot of my comments are in that op-ed for any of the viewers who are interested in learning more about where this is outlined and how you can be part of it. The other thing I wanted to highlight was a little bit about the Space Foundation and our role with the UAE. So the Space Foundation is a US nonprofit that does business internationally. We've been in business 40 years, and we have 3 main divisions. Many of you are familiar with one of our divisions, which is our Symposium 365 division. And that is the annual symposium where we bring the global space ecosystem to Colorado Springs, whether that's civil, military, commercial, and international, to talk about the future of space, hot topics and policies, and where the industry is going. And I would like to announce that we are bringing the global space economy together August 23rd through the 26th in Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor, and we hope that you will all join us. We also have our Center for Innovation and Education, and that is where we look at creating a lifelong learning platform for workforce development and economic opportunity so that all individuals can be part of the global space ecosystem. And our 3rd division is Global Alliance, and that's where our partnerships are, both with governments as well as international. So the Space Foundation is your trusted source for information, education, and collaboration. The one area I want to highlight is under our Center for Innovation and Education, we are creating that workforce development and economic opportunity so that all citizens can find their way into the space ecosystem. So one of those areas under our Center for Innovation and Education is the entrepreneurial sector, where there are opportunities to be an entrepreneur, to look at patents both within NASA's Technology Transfer Office or ESA's Technology Transfer Office, look at commercializing them and bringing them to market. And many of the technologies the Emirates are also looking at developing, such as growing food in austere conditions, agriculture, energy and energy storage solutions, healthcare. There are patents in the NASA Technology Transfer Office that can be commercialized. So a US citizen could apply for that patent, open an office here in the Colorado, apply for a government grant, and then also partner with the Emirates through obviously the US-UAE business partners, as well as other organizations, the Space Foundation, to partner with the Emirates to bring that technology to market. Because what we like to highlight is when somebody becomes an entrepreneur, they're creating a job not just for themselves, but for others. And when we think about space, many times we think about the moon and Mars and beyond and becoming an interplanetary species. But the thing we've learned over the last 60 years is that space technology benefits us here on Earth. We use it every day in our cell phone, in cordless tools, in formulated food, in Tempur-Pedic mattress. And so I share with you that for all of our listeners, and I know I see some listeners also from Texas and around the US, that there are opportunities to take space technology and commercialize it to better humanity. So I wanted to highlight that with you, Danny.
Thank you, Shelli. And I'd like to give the Consul General a chance also to say a few words about the way the UAE is diversifying its economy, because every area that you touched on are areas where as the UAE reduces its dependence on oil and gas and diversifies its economy, it's focused on these areas for future development and becoming a regional and global hub for logistics, tourism, finance, among other industries. And moreover, the UAE is quickly assuming a leadership role in shaping the future of various other industries, such as advanced manufacturing, ag tech, and green energy. Consul General Alkaabi, what sectors are most important to the UAE's economy now and in the near future? And in short, what opportunities exist for Colorado-based businesses along the lines of what Shelli just outlined to plug into the UAE's diversification efforts and strategic plans going forward? Please, the floor is yours.
That's a very interesting question, Danny. I remember Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, said once that we will be celebrating on the day that we export the last barrel of oil. So basically, we'll be focusing on what the UAE and the whole region will look like in next 40, 50 years from now. In keeping with this forward-looking vision, we are committed to finding solutions to address a long-term challenges. And like renewable, clean energy, transportation, technology, education, health, water, and space. And the UAE has emerged as a regional leader in renewable and clean energy sector. And we see this transition as an opportunities that goes hand in hand with our national vision as well. So as such, the UAE is making large-scale investment in clean energy, solar energy, nuclear power. In fact, in 2-3 years from now, 20% from our electricity will come from nuclear power. So I'm looking forward to working with Colorado businesses to develop renewable energy sectors in both countries as well.
Consul General Alkaabi, the Lieutenant Governor spoke about how much what level of exports are going to the UAE and what Colorado is importing from the UAE. The UAE has been overall the largest export destination for the US and the Middle East, North Africa for the region for the last 12 straight years. Not only does the UAE purchase large amounts of goods and services like commercial airlines and defense equipment, and as Shelli has highlighted in the space program as well for its own use, but its strategic location and world-class infrastructure make it a transshipment hub for US projects throughout the broader region. Can you speak, Consul General, to the opportunities for US business to leverage the UAE's strategic location and the world-class infrastructure and hub that it's built to export and transship goods and services from the US?
Sure, of course. Dan, if you just look at the map, you will see that Abu Dhabi and Dubai are positioned as a gateway hub at crossroad between East and West. And over 2/3 of the world population lives only within 8 hours flight from Dubai. So the UAE has made a major investment in infrastructures, resulting in modern ports, airports that serves as some of the most active gateways into the Gulf region for businesses, commerce, and tourism. And I want to mention that Dubai Airport is the busiest airport by international passenger traffic since 2013. As well, Dubai Jebel Ali Port, for example, is the busiest port in the Middle East region. So, with the recent pandemic, our strategic location combined with our world-class transportation infrastructures is why the UAE emerged as a hub global destination for distribution the COVID-19 vaccine in cooperation with Emirate Airline, Etihad Airlines, ports, and US partners like UPS and others. So thousands of US businesses close to headquarter their regional operation in the UAE because of our status as a global hub. Again, Danny, our team here at the UAE Embassy Trade Office, and of course your team would be more than happy to assist any Colorado businesses to the advantages as a world network.
Thank you, Consul General. Shelli and Consul General both, let's turn just real quickly a few minutes to education. And Shelli, I know you highlighted a lot of the educational opportunities, but our board member, board of directors member, Norm Gilsdorf, who provides us a lot of great experience and insights, and who's responsible for Honeywell, not only in the U.A.E., but across the Middle East and North Africa and Russia. Norm asked the question, given the strong focus that Colorado universities have on STEM subjects, especially space and environment, AI, how can a company like Honeywell and other companies enable stronger partnerships, educational exchange programs, a year overseas, PhD or other programs between Colorado schools like University of Colorado and the leading developing STEM schools in the U.A.E.? This would be a great enabler, Norm says, to talent development for the region and for U.S. companies. So, Shelli, we have a couple more questions to get through. Just a quick answer, and then I'm going to ask Consul General Alkaabi to comment as well.
Obviously, everything I highlighted about the future space economy being 1.4 or $3 trillion, the thing that puts it at jeopardy is a workforce shortage and a skills deficit. And so it's really critical, and that's where the Space Foundation focuses our Center for Innovation and Education, is on that workforce, both in STEM as well as non-STEM areas. So we can look at whether it's trades worker, a business, a project manager, a STEM professional. There are now role models and career opportunities throughout that workforce pipeline. And there are ways to partner, just as the Space Foundation has partnered in the U.A.E., to create that workforce development. And we have programs, again, throughout the entire pipeline, whether it's students, teachers, entrepreneurs, or business professionals. I would like to share that we are looking to collaborate with the U.A.E. Space Agency on their Arab Space Pioneers program. Again, that's designed to create that organic regional workforce that will fill all these jobs in the region that will be created by unlocking all that innovation and technology that the Emirates is looking to unlock.
Consul General Alkaabi, I talked to the U.S. Consulate in Dubai this morning and to the Consul General, and he was telling me about the incredible number of educational visas that are being processed right now by the U.S. for Emirati students to come to the U.S. to study. Can you say a few words about the opportunities for collaboration in education in these verticals and sectors?
It is just such a great opportunities for UAE students to come and study abroad, especially here in the United States. Actually, two of my brothers were a student here, one in Colorado, one in Arizona as well. I want to highlight here the cooperation between Colorado Boulder University and the Emirate Space Agency, where the student lived in Colorado for at least 6 years and worked, shoulder to shoulder with their counterpart from Colorado, and that was such a great experience. And I'm sure the partnership is continuous, and we will be receiving more students in the next few months.
That's great. We're going to have one last question or two here on business, if we could. The UAE is home to thousands of U.S. businesses, many of which have made the UAE the site of their regional headquarters. That is because, of course, the UAE has long prioritized creating a welcoming regulatory environment as well as a welcoming social environment conducive to business, conducive to families and students coming and living and working. Notably, the UAE is ranked #1 in the Middle East and 16th in the world in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. Consul General Alkaabi, can you expand on the benefits the UAE offers to U.S. businesses looking to establish operations there? Why do businesses consistently choose the UAE as the site of their regional headquarters? And I'm going to ask you to end on the note of what advice can you offer Colorado companies looking to do business in the UAE for the first time? Please.
Sure. This is very interesting, Danny. In line with efforts to increase the ease of doing business in my country, we've recently updated and changed some rules of foreign ownership for commercial companies. And this is a really great news for companies in the United States. So the change removed the requirement of companies to have a majority Emirati shareholders or agent, allowing a full foreign ownership on onshore companies. And the UAE also has a number of free zones in different Emirates. So where companies benefit from business-friendly tax environment, ongoing support, assistance. They hear, start 2 to 3 days to establish a full company in Dubai. My colleagues and I at the UAE Consulate would be more than happy to assist any Colorado businesses looking to establish an operation in the UAE. And what is my advice? My advice is, come talk to us, get to know us, get to know our country, and we are a resource for you. Of course, as you, Danny, and your team. And I'll be more than happy to connect you with the UAE Embassy Trade Office to get more details about how to start business in UAE.
And of course, Consul General for American companies, we have the U.S. mission in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and their offices, the Foreign Commercial Service from the U.S. Commerce Department, all are resources for companies getting started in the UAE and doing business for the first time. Shelli and Consul General, let's end on Expo 2020. It's such an amazing opportunity. I know, Shelli, that you're planning to do some work there on the space vertical and the space sector during Space Week at Expo. Maybe you could say a few words about that, and then I'm going to give the Consul General the last word to talk about Expo overall, if that's okay.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much. I'm honored to be in discussions with the UAE, the Dubai Expo, as well as the American Pavilion. So there are two opportunities for Colorado businesses and communities to look at participating. The one is with the Dubai Expo, and we're in discussions with the Expo to provide, again, highlight that workforce development opportunities in the space ecosystem. And then the American Pavilion is also looking at having 2 weeks to highlight space opportunities. So you have two great opportunities to collaborate at the Dubai Expo and learn and network. And at the Space Foundation, for our Center for Innovation and Education, we have a workforce development roadmap. It's about awareness, access, training, connecting, and mentoring. And the Consul General and the UAE, the US-UAE Business Council are helping to connect you. You've now been made aware that this opportunity exists. You have an access point. So you now have the opportunity to join us and be part of this. We also hope that you will join us at Symposium in August, where we will bring, again, the global space ecosystem together, and the Consul General, as well as representatives from the UAE Space Agency, where you'll have an opportunity to meet with them. And Colorado O-Edit will also have an office, a booth at the Space Symposium. So for Colorado businesses, there are ways for you to be part of the UAE, just like the Space Foundation has done it. You can do it too.
So Consul General Alkaabi, the world's greatest show, which is going to kick off on 1 October in Dubai, the world's greatest, the World's Fair, as we know it as, will focus on other things besides space, although that's a very important vertical for sure. Tell us broadly, sir, in the last 3 or 4 minutes we have left, about what folks can expect to see and find at the World's Fair in Dubai this year, and how you can provide more information to companies and businesses and folks that want to connect and learn about traveling there.
Sure. As I said, Danny, opening this October for 6 months, Expo 2020 will welcome more than 190 countries to the UAE. It will be the first World Fair to be held in the Middle East. This will be a fantastic opportunities for doing business. Meeting people from different countries, from as I said, 190 countries, just great. And the world will be there networking, sharing best practice, collaborating on new ideas. And I encourage everyone to visit. It's just such a great moment to get introduced to the international market, and we will be very happy to help in that. Again, I encourage all interested Colorado businesses to attend and to reach out to the U.S. State Department as well, to be part, if they are interested, to be part of the U.S. Pavilion, and to reach out to us if they need more information about the Expo 2020 and how to visit and when to visit as well. Again, I'm extending a warm Emirati welcome for everyone listening and watching us today, and we will be more than happy to welcome you in Dubai later this year.
Consul General, I think you underscore one of the most important points. This expo is where the world is going to be meeting for 6
Exactly.
months. And it's not just about the UAE, it's not just about the Gulf or the Middle East, it's about Africa and India and Asia and Europe and the United States and Latin America all coming together, and American companies that want to network and meet and discuss what they bring to the table as far as innovation and new opportunities. This is where it's going to happen. So we really appreciate, Your Excellency, all that the UAE is doing to bring the world this opportunity. Thank you so much. Shelli, thank you for being on the webinar today. I look forward to seeing you, if not in Colorado, to seeing you out at Expo 2020, where the world's going to meet in a few months. So thanks again, everyone, for this wonderful opportunity, and to the Lieutenant Governor and to the Colorado Office of Economic Development, International Trade. Thank you for your partnership in helping us put together today's event, and to all those that attended. I want to wish you all a wonderful afternoon, a wonderful evening. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny.